Hello. Hi. Hey, this is Paul with FR8 Connect Freight Connect. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, who is this guy? I haven't seen him in a while. And I have been not in hiding, but I have been missing in action for a while, probably 3, 4 months. And so I am yeah, so I just wanted to come on here on YouTube. I don't know if anybody would be showing up, but at least I just wanted to put this information out there. Um, yeah, I just wanted to address kind of what I've been up to and kind of what basically has been going on, and just let anyone know who has interest. But basically, it's to address the entire community in the trucking transportation industry, and I've wanted to. It's going to be probably difficult for me to get through all of this, but I'm going to try to best I can. I even made some notes to help me stay on track and be able to say some of the things that I want to say. And I think it's important. But to be honest with you, it's all selfish. Uh, what I'm about to say, only in the sense that it's just kind of what I have experienced, in regards to what I've tried to do, um, help out in the industry. Um, I guess the thing is to maybe start off and say kind of why I've been missing in action, and then at the same time, kind of tell what got me to this point. Um, and then tell I guess basically where I'm looking to go from here. um Over the past few months, me not being in action, I've been working on something that's been really, really near to my heart. And I'm the type of person who likes to see things go from 0 to 100. You know what I mean? It's like if you have a thought about something, an idea, um, how can how can we take it from that thought and take it to the next level? How can we take it to level one, level two, from wherever we're at, and grow this thing and make it something spectacular, whatever your vision is. And I've always been in a supporting role to do that. And a lot of times there have been situations where those that have had the vision, and I've been a part of it to help them along the way, they were not they kind of fell off, right? And that's fine, but I was really excited for them to see their vision come to reality. And then just to kind of bring it home so that we understand what I'm talking about. I've heard a lot of carriers. I mean, I did brokering. I started brokering in 2002. That's the first time I got into transportation or trucking, and I never had heard about trucking before. But when I got into it, um, over time, I heard a lot of carriers tell me how they want to grow. They wanted to grow their business, and they didn't. I found out they really didn't know how to do that, and I wanted to support them in that because I was really fascinated with the idea that you can take your trucking company from where you're at to where you're trying to get to. There's a pathway to do that. And over the time period from 2000 and I would say 2008, actually before then, maybe 2005-ish, I can't remember, I came up with an idea of how carriers can actually brokers, how we could actually, because I was working with a big company at the time, a big brokerage at the time, and how we could come up with a way to do more business as a freight brokerage company. The vice president of sales, he really liked the idea, and we tried it, but we did it during July, which was always a slow period, and he didn't see that as being successful, with the results. But the thing was that my program, it would take a little time, and plus, you started in July. Don't expect there to be results in July, um, in terms of us moving more freight. You have to start somewhere and develop that traction, and eventually you'll see results, but you've got to start somewhere. And there was no traction. um, at least that we could see. But I think that if we had continued the program, we would have seen a lot of traction, a lot more traction than we were seeing, in our um, regular programs. But at any rate, my point is that I've always been about finding new ways, innovative ways that we can grow, right? Give an example, and hopefully I'm not rambling here, but to give you an example, I had been involved with a music in the music industry. There were some guys that were interested in me to help them propel their music business, and I got involved, and we went from Kansas to Hollywood. And we spent a couple of years in Hollywood, met a lot of great people, a lot of famous people, did a lot of great things. Something happened, unfortunately, that took us back to Kansas, but we were right in the middle of it all. And but I was really excited to see something out of Kansas that nobody knows about be able to grow, be able to achieve, um, whatever it was that we set out to achieve. And that is me. If you have an idea and you want to develop it and grow it, I'm really excited for you. And I would love to help you do that. And so as far as carriers goes, it's the same way. I heard so many carriers talking about they wanted to grow their business, and I wanted to help support them in that. And that became my mission. So from 2002 all the way up to now, it has been my mission. So I had this idea in 2015. How can I help carriers? Or I came up with an idea on how to help carriers, do that. And over that time period, I used my own money, I used my own time, I used my own energy to do that. I spent a lot of effort in doing that. And there were a lot of great carriers that I met, throughout that time period, but I learned a lot, right? And one of the things that I learned was that as a carrier, you're busy. I get that. And as a carrier, there are some things, skill sets or what have you, that you've not been exposed to, that you don't have in your repertoire, or that you didn't think to be important. But the idea is that you have a business. And if in any business, if you think about this, any business, they have these different departments. And one of the departments that they have is sales. If you look at all the carriers, which a majority of them are small carriers, they don't have a sales department focused on sales. Maybe they touch upon dispatch, right? And they work with a dispatcher. And in working with a dispatcher, they look at that as their salesperson. And if they're working with them as their salesperson, that dispatcher doesn't really know sales, doesn't understand sales, right? And so for that, they're just as a dispatcher. They're not going to bring those opportunities to you, So you're going to continually focus on the load boards. And if you focus on the load boards, you're going to continue to get what you get until you decide to figure it out in a different way. And what that different way can be is obviously getting direct freight. The question is, how do I do that? And that's what I wanted to bring to carriers, how to do that. And I've developed multiple, different programs to help in that way. But again, when I started out, it was like, here, let me offer you a load board, not a load board, but provide you with leads, direct shipper leads, and you can call them, reach out to them. These are ones that are in the area that you said you wanted to focus in on. Carriers it seemed like carriers just didn't know how to do that. They didn't know how to call, and then they didn't know what to do with it. Maybe they were too busy, or maybe they were scared, or maybe they didn't know how to do it, or maybe they wanted someone else to do it. They sincerely wanted to grow, but that part of the business just was not a part of their business when it should have been. So as time went on, I decided, hey, why don't I just develop it, uh, uh, do the sales part for them, and so we'll make the calls. We did that and brought a lot of opportunities, but they still didn't know what to do with those leads. Now, and not knowing what to do with the leads, that becomes, unfortunately, if you don't know what to do with the leads and they're there and they're warm and they're ready to go, or not even ready to go, but you have to, get them to being hot. Why, when you don't, when you let them, when you don't nurture them and you don't know how to nurture them, you're never going to have that opportunity. The opportunity exists, but you're not going to give yourself the opportunity to close that business, to actually earn their business, right? So we decided then, okay, we need to train the carriers on that part. But we found that a lot of carriers wanted us just to make the calls and bring those opportunities to them. What is that called? A broker. So there's this piece. You can hire someone who brings carriers or shippers to you, right? And if they bring shippers to you, then what are you going to do with those shippers? Think about it. I bring you a warm lead. What are you going to do with it? I bring you a warm lead. Do you know what to do with it? Obviously, if you don't, it's going to fall through the cracks. It might take 6 months before they become a shipper. It might take a day. Whatever it takes, do you know what to do with that opportunity? Because we're not talking about, I mean, getting on the phones and trying to find somebody off the load board. You're trying to get somebody to, you're looking for a load for that moment. But we're not looking at down the road. We're not looking at the overall health of your company. We're not looking at how do I develop my business to what it is that I want it to be. That takes time. Okay. So we have to put in those efforts that are going to IPAs, income producing activities. We have to put in income producing activities that are going to help my business grow. So if I bring you a load, it's warm, or a shipper and it's warm, what do you do with it? You need to know what to do with it. That's where that training comes in. And so we decided to develop the training for a carrier so they know what to do with the shipper at that point. So what I found was that a lot of carriers don't want to do that. Don't seem to not want to take the time out and say, all right, let me learn sales. I've always said sales, that name, that word, it just kind of pushes people away. But the reality of it is this: if you are going to get into business, you need sales. You need a sales department. You need sales. I'm not going to bite my tongue about it. You need sales. You need to learn how to say, look, if you have a business and you want to call yourself the CEO or say, hey, I wear many hats, do you wear a sales hat? Because even as a CEO, that is not a separate hat. You might have a sales department, but it is not a separate hat. As a CEO, you are always selling, you are always promoting. Your goal is to, if it's a big corporation, is to align all the people up in terms of, hey, here's the different responsibilities. Here I am as a CEO to help support you in the success of your department. And I have to cast the vision, and I have to have this consistent vision and message for the entire organization and for the public as well. So any CEO, you go on to Bloomberg News, whatever, they're always selling. Always selling. If you want to call yourself the CEO of your business, guess what? You have to always be selling. ABS. There's ABC, always be closing. There's ABS, always be selling. There's ABP, always be practicing your craft. The ABP and the ABS I came up with, but those are the things that you have to do. So if it's about selling, we have to then take on not another hat, but we have to have this covering that we understand that sales is a vital part of our business. If I want a job, if I want to become a driver for your company, I have to be a salesperson to convince you that, I am the right person. Now, it's not always that it's just in words of convincing. I have to provide you evidence, that I am the right person. And you, on the other side, as the hiring person, you have to understand what it's going to take or what it is that you're looking for and how to uncover what is real to be able to make the right decision as to, are you going to bring that person on as a driver? Are you going to bring that person on to handle your staff? Are you going to bring that person on as your salesperson? Are you going to bring that person on for these various roles? Once you have put out there, here's what you're needing, people come, you're selling them on your company, and they're selling you on hiring them. Sales exists in every facet of our lives, professionally and even personally. And so I have been really focused in on how do I present that to carriers and make that a thing so that you would be able to go out and do better business, be able to have retention, be able to actually move your business in the direction you want to move it. You can be busy, but it is a very important part of your business. How do we get this incorporated into your company? And so over the past actually year and a half, and then going back these past 4 months, I've really, really been focused on doing that. And I've been very proud of what, I've been able to develop, but I just don't know if it's something that the community wants. Brokers, to be honest with you, your sales team as a carrier, that is your sales team. If you have staffing, you have your office manager and you pay that person, or you have anyone that's within your organization and you're paying them, including drivers, right? Brokers should have that category of your sales team. That needs to be a line item. Okay, that needs to be a part of your, when you even start, before you start, when you're calculating, if you are, hopefully you did, you calculate all the costs that's going to be associated with your business. And I need an individual to do this or to do that, or I need the phones, or I need, internet access, whatever it might be. I'll say just that sales needs to be one of those line items. And who's going to fill that role? Either somebody you hire or brokers or a combination of the two. But brokers are your salespeople. If you don't have a sales department, which can be filled with brokers, the brokers can fulfill that. If you don't have a sales department, then no, you're not going to be successful. It's going to be challenging for you. If you are your sales department, okay, but you have to understand that that is the role that you do play. It has to be a part of your business, okay? So brokers, they are your sales team. That is your sales department. Think about that. If you have a sales department, let's not even think about sales department. If you have an AR department, account receivables department, are you going to not pay them? If you have an office manager, if you have sales, are you not going to pay them? Dispatch, are they not going to get paid? Factoring, insurance, maintenance, all this. You're paying them all. And in that, you can justify it, although you say the cost is high. And maybe you see the price tag and you're like, insurance is $12,000 or 35, whatever the price is. But when it comes to sales, did you say, all right, this is my sales department. What kind of money am I putting in my sales department? What am I budgeting for that? Do you have a sales department? No, I don't. Okay, how do you get your loads? I go through brokers. That's your sales department. And if that's your sales department, then they are the ones you pay. If it's 5% of that load, 10%, 20%, whatever it is, sales in most cases is going to present a commission. Okay. So they may set their own commission at 20%, 30%, 50%, 10%, 5%, whatever it is, so they can get that load moved. But the idea is that that is your sales department. If you don't have time to go get it, if you don't have somebody hired to do that for you, the brokers are your sales department. Okay. Now let's break that down. Okay. Your sales department, if you're starting off as a carrier, new carrier, look, where are you going to get the business? If you come in and say, hey, I've already got a client that says, hey, this is the reason why I'm getting into this business, but because they have loads that they need moved, and I can help them with that. And they're like, hey, get you a truck, get you 2 trucks, whatever. Here's what we'll do. We'll keep you filled. Great. Do that. Now, on the other end, when you make the deliveries, you might have to figure out, how am I going to get back? You're going to have to use a broker. It's okay to do that. But at the same time, my point is that when you start off, a lot of people get into it because they've heard other people say, hey, this is a great business to get into. But did they think it through? Really sit back and say, all right, how am I get loads? Yeah, of course they did. They said, I'm going to get it off the load board. Once they do it and actually get in there and they see what it's really about, then all of a sudden they're looking for other options. But then they feel stuck that this is the route I have to go. I like brokers. I started as a broker. And when I say broker, I'm talking about the title. You know, there are some people that give brokering a dirty name, but you have to understand that that is your sales department. They're getting paid. If you decided, hey, I'm going to pay them this amount, how much would you give them? 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. There's a lot of work that's involved in brokering. And let me explain that just real quick, real simple. Why don't you go ahead and find your own shippers? If you do that, perfect. Great. I will tell you, it will take time in developing that. It can happen, but that is what the brokers are doing. The brokers are doing that part that you probably don't want to do. So as far as that goes, they charge 10%, 20%, 30%. They're doing something that you don't want to do. Now, if it's a part of your business, right? Like I say, if you have a sales department, which is who they are, you negotiate whatever you're going to pay these people. I mean, as a broker, I'm just opening it up, you know, because I'm like, I don't know. It seems like I probably need to go in a different direction with Freight Connect. But I'm going to say this. Brokers, you know, they can get a base salary and then they get commission. And they can get paid, you know, 40,000, whatever it is, not a bad salary plus commission, right? And they're salespeople. They're motivated. They're motivated to make a lot of money. So they want to do a lot of business. They want to do a lot of loads and they want to get the percentage. They're salespeople. Bring someone into your organization and give them that. Give them a base salary and give them the commission. or give them just commission, I guess, but it's got to be a good one. And with you being a company, a carrier, what you have to be able to do is, as a company, support them in that effort, right? And what does that mean? Well, you want them to be successful, right? And for them to be successful, you've got to give them what they need in order to be successful. If you hire someone, you can hire a family member, you can hire someone off the street, whatever the case might be. What do you have in place that's going to help them be successful? What do you have in place that's going to train them? What do you have in place that you know is going to be right on the money, and they're going to get what they need and the ongoing support for them to grow and continue to develop? Because in the beginning, it is a lot of phone calls. In the beginning, it is a lot. And when I say a lot, I'm talking about that you've got to put forth a lot of effort. You have to put forth a lot of effort to develop a base of leads that you can reach out to and communicate with and say, hey, eventually someone says, hey, I'm interested in you. But it takes time. It takes effort. It takes effort. That is just what it is. Sales is that way. I don't care if you're talking about, if you go into insurance, if you go into selling cars, it takes insurance, financial, whatever. It is sales. They are about numbers. They're like, okay, how many people do you know? And insurance, who do you know? Make a list of the 300 people you know. Then we want you to communicate with them. Steak knives. Start with who do you know? Then go make presentations to them. Here is how you do that. And then you go from there. Get some, they'll give you some referrals. They'll give you leads. They'll give you whatever, but you've got to start somewhere. And they're like, start with who you know and build that list, and then go and make your presentations. And you'll get referrals, and eventually it'll catch on and you'll grow from there. But that is what they require you to do in these different industries. There are so many different industries. If you came up with one business that does not require sales, I'll give you 1,000,000 that do, right? And guess what? Your business requires sales. Your business requires you to have, whether it's you or someone else going out to find the business. How do you do that? How does that work? If you don't know, you got into this business because you wanted to be away from people. Let's say, because I know a lot of drivers from back in the day, they got into the business, they didn't want to deal with people, right? And so they're in the business and they are driving. They don't have to deal with people. I let my company deal with that. But the thing is this: it doesn't matter whether you're a driver, you're the actual carrier or dispatcher. You have to deal with people. If you don't deal with people, your business is not going to develop and it's not going to grow. There's so many things that I could say about all this, and my mind just is going 100 different ways. And this is what I've been wanting to communicate to carriers about, so that they can see that they have a business. You own a business. You are a business owner. I don't care. You're comparable to a Walmart. You're comparable to the mom and pop store on the corner in the little town of Iowa. You're comparable to any business that is opening up and saying, we're open for business. Please come and see what we have to offer. If you have a business, and think about it this way. They're a business. I haven't heard this in a long time. I remember when I was younger, it was always about grand openings. There were companies and they're going to have their grand opening and they're promoting before they even open the doors. Most of the time it was that they'll be in business for a few weeks or whatever, and then they have their grand opening. But the idea was to get the message out so that people would come to you and want to see what you have to offer. Some are going to come back and return, and some may not. But the idea is that you have to get the message out. And as a carrier, when you get into this industry, you don't think about that, about having a grand opening. What I always hear is that basically they'll get on the load board and then they'll figure it all out. Once they get their authority and everything, I got to get my truck, I got to get this, I got to get that. There's never a thought about sales, ever, ever. You make it harder than it should be. If you understand sales and you understand that, hey, when I get into this business, I have to have a sales department. It is required. You call some of these businesses and they'll say, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for that. I guarantee you, sales is probably going to be number 1 or 2. Top 3, I guarantee it. But are you thinking about that for your business? When you call a business, you're reaching out and you're like, I don't know who to contact. Really? Okay, that's fine. I get that. That's cool. I can train you and teach you all that. But here's the thing. What about when they call your business? Are you set up where you have a sales department, or, they call you and they have to figure out who to contact, or is just you? And that's fine if that is it. But the point is that when people call you, they're looking for a department. They're not calling for everything. They're not calling for AR. They're not, account receivables. They're not calling for the executive branch. They're not calling for customer service or whatever. They're calling maybe to call you and say, hey, I need some help. Can you help me? And that might be the sales department. Do you have a sales department? Are you the sales? If you are, do you know how to respond as the sales department? And if you do, great. But you've got to understand that you have to have a sales department that is reaching out and communicating with other businesses. They're doing it as a sales department. They're promoting your business. Do you have that? Do you? And if you say, you know what, I'm not even thinking about sales, I'm not thinking about sales. Sales is not something I want to do. And guess what? You're going to struggle. I'm telling you right now, you will struggle. Again, people who have taken our sales program, and I always talk about this one student, and the reason being is because we have it recorded. But she was the first student that signed up for our program. I mean, 5 minutes when I hit for our program, our sales department, or I'm sorry, our training to go live, right? In 2022, it was 2021. I was developing it. 2022, I think it was 2021. At the end of 2021, I hit the button for it to go public, just to test it and make sure everything was okay, so that it would go public. And within 5 minutes, she had bought it. And I was like, this must be a part of our testing, I guess. But come to find out, it was a real student. She bought our our program, and it took her all the way. And this is, think about it, 2022 was when COVID. It was on the back end of COVID, and loads were going away. And there were so many carriers, so much capacity in the industry that there was too many trucks that existed, just like today, but worse, right? And so therefore, the loads were not there. Carriers were needing to shut down at that point. Prices were dropping. Rates of fuel, the fuel rate was going up. This was during the Putin invasion of Ukraine on February 24th, 2022. And so we were losing, you guys were losing opportunities, right? There was so many carriers that got into our industry, and the freight wasn't there. It was going this way because the public started going toward, services instead of goods. So you guys didn't have as much to move. There was too many trucks in the industry. She came aboard during that time period and I trained her. And I trained her all the way up till April. She got sick or whatever. So it took her a while to get through the training, but she was so nervous. And she was like, "Oh, I don't know if I could do this, making calls. I haven't sold anything in a long time. I'm not a people's person." And what ended up happening was, in the end, she went through the whole program. And 2 years later, I called her while everyone else was dealing with there not being enough freight. She actually, I'm very proud of it, but she has done very well. 2 years later, 2024, April, same month, they had done government contracts. They had gotten direct shippers. They went from zero trucks or one truck to four trucks, and they had considered closing their business at the time. So they came to us at the end, when they were at their last leg, and you listen to her and you would never have thought that she was not a people person. And our training really supported her and helped her. And my point is that when you go through the training, you know what to do. It's like, let me teach you how to fish, you know. But when we do it for people, when we do the fishing for people, it doesn't really work out because they don't know what to do with what we bring them. But if you're trained on that, what we train you on, you can use that training on anything. You can use it in various areas of your business. And even if you got out of trucking and went somewhere else, you can use our training to help you in other businesses. Why am I bringing all this up? I mean, I didn't mean to get to this point because, like I said, my whole thing is this has been my heart. I have really put a lot of energy into this and really developed some things that are not even out there in the market to help carriers develop and grow, to help their business. I mean, the traditional way, going to a broker, no problem, do that. But there is a way to grow your business. And we have the way to do that to help. But I don't know that carriers really are interested in doing that. Um, I really, really was excited to be able to push forward and put together these programs. I mean, I've got over the last few months. Good afternoon, Paul. Coming in late. Hope things are going well. Hey, great. Hey, great. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I'm still learning all this technology, and but man, I'm just here, and good to see you. I'm just basically, I've been doing this for a while. It, and there's a lot of opportunity that exists in our industry, and I don't like seeing carriers struggle, right? And the programs that I have, I know that they could really help, especially like new carriers that get into our industry and they have to work with brokers. Do what you got to do. But as you grow, there's another level to go to that can really help your business. I mean, I look at it as you have three different stages. You have your uh, foundational stage, survival stage, you know, that's where you're struggling and you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to figure out how to, because it might not be the best market, but you're in a struggling position. You're in a survival mode. You have to figure out, how do I stay in business until things change, right? Or you're in the business, you just decided to get into our industry and you're trying to figure out, how do I you start to realize that it's not what you thought it was, just getting loads off the broker board, but how do I do this? How do I figure this out? This is all new to me. What do I do? And that is an initial stage, right? You're trying to develop your foundation when you get into this business. But before you get into the business, you have to understand that's going to be a part of what you're going to deal with. You're working to get your truck right, your all your filings and everything, but what about how am I going to get loads? How am I going to keep the truck moving? You've got to that has to be a part of your thought process before you ever get into this business. That has to be. Once you get into it and you move to the next stage, there's a growth level. And then how do you grow from there? How do you grow? How do you get more business, right? Because now you're bringing on trucks. How do you grow? And then there's an elevate level. You've been growing. You're bringing on all these opportunities. Where do you go from there? So you can break it down into different sections, but you got to understand where what section you're in, and not only that, you have to understand that what to do at that point in time. Sales is involved in it all, and so that's and I'll be honest with you, the way I see it, I've been in sales since 19. It's weird to say, but 1992 professionally, 91, 92. But I've been in it before that. And to, have a business and grow it and develop it, sales is a huge part of that. No matter what direction you decide to take your business, sales has to be a part of it. Okay. Again, so all the way up to this point, I just don't know if carriers are really interested in that. I haven't found carriers to be overly abundantly and wanting to go that direction in terms of learning sales and trained on it. And to be honest with you, I can train you really easily. And I can provide you the support you need or your people, but it doesn't appear to be that carriers are really interested in that. So I have to make a decision, what direction to go. And there's a lot of great carriers out there, and there's a lot of carriers out there, right? And, but what gives you that competitive edge? What makes you different? What makes you different? I could work with there's an opportunity possibly where, I could work with a brokerage, rather large brokerage, and help bring them people that would be already precept to sales, bring them, some people that would probably really work for them and not experience that high turnover. So I'm looking to work with a possible brokerage to do that. They understand sales. I would still love to work with carriers to help them and show them the way and support them, but I just don't see the interest. And that's okay if that's the case. There's no problem with that, if that is the case. It's just that I took a long time to get to this point because I really believe in carriers and I believe in what they can do, what they could bring to the table, what they could accomplish for their business. I really, really do. I really believe that they could go to the next level. There's a way to do it, and so as far as this goes, I'm going to be looking to, you know, to go in a different direction. I really would love to support carriers, but and not see them have to struggle so much. At the same time, I hear a lot of carriers tell me they're not. There's a lot of complaining about the industry, but then in the end, they say it's good money. There's good money in this, though. So it's like, I guess the money that is made outweighs all the pain and the grief and what have you, because I know there's a lot. You got to go, you got to deal with fraud, you got to deal with brokers, you have to deal with your own drivers, you have to deal with, the high cost of multiple things. You have to deal with maintenance, you have to deal with, carrier drivers that are not taking care of your equipment. You have to deal with, this keeps you up at night. You're working 24/7, you know, and there's nobody else that can do it better than you. And I totally get all that. But yet it seems like then the money that you make, it's worth it. Especially when you start to multiply your trucks, maybe to 2 or 3 or whatever it is. But how can I find, better freight? How can I, truly really grow? Um, there's a way. But again, if it's not of real big interest, then, just like you have to make a decision. Are you going to move the freight in this lane or not? Is that something I want to take? Do I want to take on that brokered load? Do I want to work with that direct shipper or not? You've got to make a decision, right? Do I want to continue to try and support carriers? I do, but like someone told me, a wise man told me, basically maybe carriers don't want that. It's a good idea, good program and all that, but maybe they just don't want it. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, here's the thing I would say, going through it all, I have been able to truly develop myself. Carriers have really been a good teacher for me. Shippers have been a great teacher for me. And then me going out and developing some things like I never thought I would. I mean, I can develop a website now. I never got in, I was not in, that was not my intent. But when I say that, I'm talking about some really incredible stuff that I can develop. And I'm really excited for that. But, I'm developing something now for someone, you know, and she, likes what we've done or what I've done. And I'm really excited for her. So I want to develop that for her. But guys, I guess I've gone on rambling here for 40 something minutes, 47 minutes, and I'm sorry for that. If anybody makes it through to this point, but um, yeah, I just hope that, as a carrier, you can understand whether you're new and you come into the business or wherever you're at right now, there are steps to this thing. When you get in new, you are a brand new carrier, and there are shippers, brokers and what have you. You're going to have to grind. You're going to have to make a lot of calls. You're going to have to build relationships. Our whole system and all that stuff helps you to do that, but you're going to have to do that regardless. You're going to have to figure that out. And then when you get to the next step where, you start moving freight, you're going to have to retain that business, and you're going to have to understand how to communicate with them and continue that relationship. You're going to have to understand that. You're going to have to know how to do that. It's just that simple. You're going to have to know how to do that. You're going to have a sales department. Somebody calls in, yes, I'm sales. Don't shy away from it. Don't kick it away. Don't do that. Your brokers are your sales department. That is your sales department. That is your sales department. The brokers are your sales department. They are your sales department. Until you decide to have your own sales department. That's where we would have come in. We would have been able to, we've got it, everything set up for you. It's real simple, real easy, but again, it may not be what carriers want. That's okay. So as far as that all goes, hey, I really appreciate, anyone that comes and listens, and and I wish all carriers good luck in their endeavors. I really do. I want you to be successful. I want you to grow. I want you to just, experience all that you can experience, because there's a lot of great opportunity out there. If you know how to go about it, your company can definitely do well. Add a sales department to your company. And when I say that, you need to understand, they need to know what they're doing. There's a process to it. That is a vital part of your company. You need sales department, and they need to know what they are doing. If they don't, they're going to quit. If you don't provide them what they need, they're going to quit. If you don't provide them with the structure, if you don't provide them with, do you have leads? Sorry. Do you have leads? Do you have leads that are going to support them? Do you have scripts? Do you have a way for them to track those lead opportunities? Do you have a follow-up system? Do you have, with objections, how to handle the entire call process? Do you have, in terms of retention, follow-up, there's your email setup. Are those things in place? All those things might sound like a lot, but I tell you what, when you know how to combine it all and be able to present it to your people, no, it's not. It's not. You just need to know how that all connects. And when you do that, you got you a sales department, and not only a sales department, but then you can interject if your system is set up right, which, as far as I know, we're the only ones that have it. People that come in, it automatically teaches them what to do. So if you're off and trying to get loads for your other trucks, and while you're hoping that they're making sales, the system actually helps them when you can't help them. You might not even know what to do, to be honest with you. Our program was like, hey, you go through it because you need to understand it. You need to know. I mean, it'll change your whole mindset in regards to seeing opportunities. Now, if you then are able to insert someone else and say, hey, you know what, you got sales experience, great, or not, you can insert them into the program that we have, and it'll help them to become a pretty darn good salesperson. And then we're also available to be able to help support them as well, to help train and coach them along the way. But you need a sales department. You need a department that is sales oriented, that is about sales. 100 carriers. How many of them have that? 0? 1? 2? Okay. Well, they're the ones that are getting the loads, while you're still fighting about broker transparency. While you're still fighting that the broker shouldn't be getting all this money, shouldn't be getting 50%. They don't get 50%. Maybe some of them do at some point in time, but at the same time, there's probably a load that they lost money on. So that's how they look at it. There's some, I'm going to get 30% on. Great. They love it. They go have a great time. There's some where they're only going to get -5%. That's how it works. And they're doing this because why? They're trying to retain that shipper, that client, that customer. That is how valuable that shipper is to them, right? Now, you as a carrier, no, they don't care, right? I'm not going to pay you detention. I'm not going to do this. Hey, whatever. You can stick around and wait for the load, or I'll tell you a lie. And, those things do happen. Yes. But here's the thing. Understanding this is your salesperson, go out and find your own business. Go out and do that. How are you going to do that? Do you know how to do that? Do that. That's what you need to do. Good evening. Good evening, sir. How are you? Good to see you. And I'm 54 minutes into this thing. And it feels like I'm just rambling, but I'm just basically saying, find your own clients. Find your own clients, and when you do that, you need to have a sales department. If it's not us, if it's not our system, figure it out. Because the brokers are your sales team. That's your sales team. You pay them. If you end up paying them more than you want to pay them, they're your sales department. They're the ones that are helping you to get from point A to point B. You need to keep your trucks moving. You want to make more money. It's not just the broker. There's a lot of different costs, unfortunately, involved that's going to take money from that load, but if they're the ones, they've got loads. How did they get them? They made calls, just like I'm trying to teach you how to do, or that we do for you, not as a broker. I mean, there are companies that we have done it for where we've gotten them clients and they've made hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably millions of dollars on what we have done for them, you know? Yeah, I'm late. I kind of replay. Hey, yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Um, definitely check out the replay for sure. How you doing? How's the road treating you? Are you just out and about and just enjoying the weekend? Or are you at home with the family? It's there's really if you really want to change, elevate your income, you can't keep doing the same thing. You have to do something different, right? You have to do something that you don't currently do. But if you're fine where you're at, that there's no problem with that. Continue to do what you're doing. But I'm all about connecting with those that want to go the next level and working out. Okay, out here in VA. All right. Well, let's see. You're an hour difference than me, so you're an hour ahead of me. I don't know what time it is. It's 6. It's already 6 o'clock. So it's 7 o'clock. Okay. All right. Well, are you driving or are you like, hey, I'm done for the day. I'm relaxing, just checking out a little YouTube, you know? Are you finding you some direct shippers or have you been able to do that? Have you found some other bit? What kind of business are you doing? Or what are you finding out there? I'm really curious. There's a lot of, I'm not going to lie. Like I had said, this whole video I took done for the day. Cool. Excellent. All right. Well, enjoy your evening. Um, definitely enjoy the evening. Tomorrow's going to bring a new day and it's going to be time to get back to work, or Monday, you know. But like I say, me here coming here today. Okay. All right. You said yet. I like that. Not yet. What are you doing to get direct shippers? What is it that you've been doing to make that happen? Talk to me. And even if you've been doing it, what has been a challenge for you, if anything? If there's been a challenge for you? I mean, there's just I just sit back and I just think about, man, the opportunities that exist for you carriers. And I know that you guys are out there on the front line, and it's tough and what have you. But again, you need a sales department. Create a sales department, mostly email. So mostly you've been sending out emails based upon, I'm just assuming that that's what you're telling me. And if that's the case, have you been calling people? Have you been talking to people? Have you actually been trying to say, hey, this is who I am and help me to get to the right person I need to talk to, and having those conversations? Has that been a part of uh, see how much time is needed in a student to complete this successfully? Um, the sales department, yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate that. You threw me off because my whole mindset was like, nobody wants it. Nobody wants the sales program. The salespeople, the people that have taken it, have been very successful in the end. And yes, it is still available. If the way I have designed it is that we're going to have like a couple times a week where you can come in and we actually have group training. So you can go through your sales program, and then when we get together, every other week, then we come together and we have training, and it'd be, I don't know. I mean, at the time I'm thinking it's probably be about an hour or so or two, whatever it takes. But I think that it'll be able to provide you with some really good insight, and at the same time, what I want to be able to do is have you all come in together, and be able to hear what everyone is going through. But the key thing is that when you go through the training, you're going to definitely have confidence when you make the call. When you reach out to someone, I'm gonna give you guys a little thing that I came up with. I made this up. There's a lot of things that I made up, and when I say I made it up, believe me, this is through experience. I came up with what's called a check call. I came up with about a year or so ago, and that's CHECK, check call. All right. When you make a phone call, you want to make sure you have confidence. That's the C. You want to have high energy. That's the H. E, empathy. And C, control. And K, knowledge. If you're able to go through that there and say, hey, when I got off the call, I can check mark each one of those, that means you had a successful call. And I'll explain it real quickly. Confidence, if you exude confidence, other people relate to that. They understand, okay, I feel that, and they stay on the phone with you. That's a part of it. Confidence. Not that you're cocky, but confidence. And we teach all that. H, high energy. I say good energy, but the H works. So high energy, if you come in sounding sleepy, people are going to leave. When I'm on the YouTube and I don't have energy, people leave, and that's what it is. But when you're on a call and you are communicating with someone, you have to have that energy, right? And they feel that, and that keeps them there as well. When you have empathy, and that means you're talking to them and they're giving you feedback and you're communicating with them. Well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to allow you to continue the conversation because you're listening to them, right? And people want to be heard, right, and understood. So empathy is a big deal because they can have pains that you need to hear, but let them be real, let them exist. So empathy, and then control. That doesn't mean that you're this control master, but it means that you're able to guide the conversation, because the conversation can go over here, which is fine, but bring it back here. When the conversation goes over here, it's almost like developing rapport, right? But you got to bring it back on track and keep that call moving forward. And then knowledge, that's not just that you know what you know and you are telling everyone about what you know. What that means is that you're able to go back and forward. You're able to give them some information, some knowledge, something that says, hey, he knows what he's talking about, but not in a cocky way. And then at the same time, you have to be able to receive knowledge, right? You have to listen to them and understand what it is that they're talking about and what they're trying to convey to you. And when you do that, at the end of the call, there is going to be a good rapport that has been developed and a next step that can be created, so that you can follow up, whether it's you're sending them out information or that you're going to be getting lanes or whatever the case is. If you follow that process, at the end of the call, you can say, I had a good call. If you can check off each one of those sections and say, yeah, I did that in each one of these calls, you had good calls. No matter what it resulted in, you had a good call, right? And so we teach all that. I'm interested right now. I have bigger issues in sales. I'm limited on time. Ah, gotcha. Well, the limitation on time, the program is where, in regards to being limited on time, you can, it's on your own time, right? I mean, because we, one, provide you with the training material. Secondly, we have a new system that I'm really excited about, where you're able to log in, and then you're able to log in anytime you want and follow this new thing that we have presented, which actually guides you through what I just talked about, along with a lot of other stuff. I mean, it gives you our scripting. right? The call script, and you can actually be on a call with a shipper, and actually follow along this call script. And while you're doing it, you can actually put in notes into the system, right? And you can go all the way through a call. And by the time you get off, you'll have everything that you need. So the system actually guides you through any conversation that you have with shippers. And then in the end, you have all that information, right? So we do have something that will allow you to, when you are making your calls, do it on your own time, right? You can do those calls on your own time. And we have a system that allows you to be able to go in and do the practice as well. And we also provide you the scripting. We provide you with all of that. We provide you even with, we're going to be coming out with a section that provides you with economics in your area. If you're working in a certain area, and we'll be providing the economics on that. And you'll be able to have talking points so that you can talk to shippers about different things. This is going to differentiate you from any other shipper or carrier, and be able to take the conversation to someplace that other carriers aren't doing. And they're going to remember you, and they're going to say, hey, you know what, such and such, I like that. I like that about them, and I want to work with them. But the idea is this, is that you have to be willing to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to that place where no one else is willing to go. There's a lot of carriers that say they are interested in the program, but I understand time is a value. But the program that we have, it doesn't require you to take, let's say, a week. This is as you go. This program works with you as you go, and it's not to end after a week. This is a program that is supposed to continue throughout let me tell you something. I'm up here I'm not explaining things well, and I know that, and it's because I get excited about this stuff. I've been doing sales since 1992 professionally. And then before that, that's not what I've done. I mean, I've done sales, but not on a professional level. But even today, every time I am on a call with a shipper, I'm practicing. Guys, listen, I am practicing. Every call that I make is a practice for me. I don't think that I'm already there. I'm trying to get better. So my point is that with our program, it's not about that you're there, you have arrived, it's that it's going to continually feed you, so that when you make that next call, you're looking to get better. You're looking to get better. You're looking to listen. You're looking to hear what these shippers are saying, but you're going to then learn how to respond, right? So that one, you can carry on the conversation, another, so you can build rapport, another, you want to develop the relationship and ultimately get the business. That is what you want to be able to do. So, in answering the question, right now the biggest issue isn't sales. It's a bigger issue than sales. I'm limited on time. What does that mean for you when you say you're limited on time? Because the program will work with whatever your time allows. Like I say, those that have been able to. Here's another thing. In the CRM that we also have, the CRM is going to allow you to manage your leads. So if you've got 20 leads, 50 leads, 100 leads, you can put your leads somewhere where they're housed, so that you can go to them and go back to them, right? If it's these 5 that you need to follow today, that's fine. Follow those 5, right? And you can set an hour aside every day, an hour aside, twice a week. Have someone that does that for you. But the one thing I want you to understand is that you're not alone in trying to figure it out. We'll guide you through that process, so you'll understand, how does this work? Here are the leads I have. Here's where they're housed. Great. Now I reach out to them. What do I do next? Boom. We have everything established for you. The whole process. what to say after hello, what to say after hi, what to say after they told you whatever they've told you. Where do I go with this? One after another. And that is, you know, we have made it as simple as possible. And I would, love to help anyone out that would be interested in that. You know, Great Transportation. If you want to reach out to me, you call me 816-703-8431. Um, you know, that excites me. 816-703-8431. Um, I'd love to do that for you. Again, I've got, a broker that is interested in what we are doing. They understand that value of sales, and that's what they are. They're a sales team. You can be your sales team, right? There are some things that we put in place, like the brokers, they get leads. That's what they do. They get leads. They look for leads, and they have to reach out to them, and they reach out to them over and over again. Some are good, some are not, but it's sales. That's what it's all about. They have systems in place, right? All kinds of systems, very sophisticated, some not so sophisticated. But we've developed something that, honestly, if you went out to go find it somewhere else, you would pay a lot of money for it. Right now, I mean, we have it at a very economical cost, very affordable. And that obviously is because it's new. It's really not, but it is new, new that we're presenting it. And if somebody is interested in it, we'd love to show it to you. But this here is a system that a larger company could use and could really benefit from. But we want to bring it to smaller carriers, give them an opportunity, give them a chance, But the only way that you're going to have a chance is if you get outside of thinking that there is only one way to do this thing, if it's that I have to go through the broker and do it, that's fine, but they're your salespeople, right? And you've got to understand then you have to incorporate sales into your business, and that is through the brokers or some kind of way on your own. And we have developed brokers could use this, what we have developed. I've trained brokers, I was a broker when I started in 2002, So the sales part, I understand and I get it. But if carriers don't want it, I don't know what, I can't force it on anyone. But those that have taken on that training and learned it, they see the world in a different way. Again, broker transparency, that's not their topic. They see things in a different way. So aside all that, again, I've just rambled, but I've just feel like I don't know, I may need to go in a different direction. But if you're interested, yeah, please definitely reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it and just get you going. It's a really good program. So you want to give me a call, do that. And it's getting late. Been on here for an hour, 14 minutes, and probably could go on all night, and then I just might repeat myself over and over again. But I've really wanted to help carriers. That's been my whole thing. I really have wanted to help carriers to go from that one truck to two trucks. There's a mind shift change that is required. And here's the thing. When you go through, if you were to go through our course, and I talk about seeing things differently, there is at a point where you just do. You see things in a different way. It just clicks. And it's like, wow, wait a minute. I didn't think of it in that way. And then if you start to move and start to make those changes, within your actions, you'll find that you'll see all these opportunities. You know what I mean? For me, going into a grocery store, I can talk to anybody. I was just at the dealership today to get the car tuned up, and there were multiple people there, obviously, and nobody's talking to anyone. And I try to talk, I just do it. Like I said, ABP, always be practicing. I always practice. Today at the dealership, I don't know how many people I talked to, but I just opened and started conversations with people. A lady who had two kids, young kids, a guy that worked at the dealership, another person who was, I think he worked there. I'm not even sure if he worked there or not, but multiple people. I'm just opening up conversations and I'm doing it intentionally. How do you start a conversation with somebody you don't know? The lady that was standing behind me, you know, the cashier, all these different people, I'm just starting conversations with them. I'm always practicing. Do you see? I'm always practicing the things that we train and teach. You can put them into, like you say, you don't have time. Well, here's the thing with what we do train on, you do have to practice. Michael Jordan went into the gym, Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, and these are basketball players. I'm not a big basketball guy, but these are big basketball players that we all know about. LeBron James. They are in the gym practicing. Same thing over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to call myself, I'm a Michael Jordan of sales, right? Because I'm in the gym, wherever I'm at, it's my gym. I am practicing over and over and over again. How do I open up a conversation with someone I don't know? How do I carry on that conversation with someone I don't know? How do I keep that conversation going? Where do I end it? What is my goal? What am I trying to get out of this conversation? Right? How do I leave this conversation so this person remembers me? Right? You can do this while you're at the grocery store. You can start up a conversation with someone that is focused on trying to determine what jelly that they're going to pick, or someone standing in line or in front of you or in back of you or with the cashier or whomever, wherever you are at. How do I develop these conversations? How do I develop a conversation when I am on the phone calling a shipper? How do I do that? How do I get that person on the phone that I need to talk to, or even the person that is on the phone? How do I connect with this person so that they can get me to where I need to get to? How do I have that conversation? And then once I get the person on phone that I need to talk to, where do I go from there? When I am making a delivery or whatever the case may be, how do I handle those conversations that are going to, be in my favor? How do I do that? You can practice everything and anything that we teach everywhere. You can always be practicing, right? So the things that we teach you are practical. When you think about it at home with your kids or family or whatever, you're selling all the time. All the time you're selling. All the time. They're selling to you all the time. There's a thing where they say, hey, if you're on the phone, when you're on the phone, there's always a sale made. Every call that you make, there's a sale made, right? And the idea is this, is that either you sold them or they sold you. They sold you to get off the phone and not take your product, or you sold them to take your product, right? So either way, there's a sale made one way or the other. But the idea is that understanding that concept, and then what do I implement in order to be victorious or to actually run through the sales process? What does that look like? There's someone that I really look to and say that, regardless of what we think about the individual, because that's not where I'm going with it, but one of the greatest salespeople that we have access to right now is the President of the United States. He's an amazing salesperson. Forget about everything else, right? Whatever your opinion is. Let's not go there, and let's just say he is good at what he does. And the one thing is that he has this one track mind that this is what I want. And he's relentless and he believes in it. At least that's what he presents to you, but he exudes confidence, high energy, empathy at times, right? Depending upon the audience, right? Or his base or whatever the case is. Control, no doubt, knowledge, whether it seems like he knows what he's talking about or not. Those 5 things exist. You watch him do whatever he does, and you identify each one of those things. And in the end, you call them whatever you want to call them. But in terms of a salesperson, that is where he comes from, a business background, not even a sales background. The deal, all this stuff, the art of the deal, it's sales. Come on. That's what it is. And he does it all the time. You see? So you can practice the things that we teach as being in the gym and doing it over and over again at every opportunity that you have, and it will become natural. And when I say it becomes natural, when you go out, it's an easy thing to talk then to people, opening up conversations about transportation. It becomes such an easy thing. And once that happens, you're going to find yourself in a position of earning business. And not only earning business, obviously there's money, finances that come with that. You see? And at some point, it might make sense to open a brokerage. You see? You don't need a brokerage. No, you don't need, no, forget about that. That's not, a brokerage comes into play when it's needed, right? Get one, hold the MC, whatever you want to call it, or the DOT, hold it for however long. But the point is that don't look at that to make you money. And the reason I say that is that a brokerage is hard. There's no question about it. To set up as a broker, just to set it up and say, hey, I'm going to make money as a broker. No, unless you have the right mindset. What does that mean? You're going to make a ton of calls to find that one shipper. And it's going to continue that way until something sticks and just rolls for you, but it's going to take a lot. And it's okay, right? It's no problem with that. But here's the idea: roll as a carrier and then work to be that person. And as opportunities come, there will be a time it says you need to establish a brokerage. Eventually, it'll say that, you need a brokerage. That's what will happen. You will make a lot of calls and you will know when it's time for you to start a brokerage. You might even partner with someone and say, hey, I'm going to shuffle you some loads. I can't handle them, but you can take care of the overflow or whatever. But at some point, it may make sense for you to become that broker. Okay. And then you have that brokerage just so that you can handle that overflow. And at some point, it might become a main operator in your company. But at this point, that's all that would be, is just to help with that overflow, but work to build those relationships, develop those relationships. How to do it? There's a way. The process, there's a way. It can happen. There's no question about it. And with getting the training on how to do it, it's like teaching you how to fish, not me fishing for you, and it'll open up opportunities and you'll just see different ways of how to handle your business. Right. And so again, just going back to our system, it's amazing what I've been able to figure out. And I'm not going to, I apologize to the community. I took myself away from the community and it hurt me. It really did. It hurt me in the sense that I wanted to, I took myself away from the community, and the community, I didn't I did a video and then never heard from me again. And I was working on developing what I've been wanting to do for the past 10 years to help the community. And I ended up screwing up my website and I had to figure it out. And I learned a lot. I mean, it literally just one thing that the problem was, it took me over a month to figure it out. And I just was so focused and driven on it, and I figured it out, screwed it up again, figured it out, screwed it up again, got a developer involved, and the developer, it really did help, which I should have done in the beginning. It wasn't that much money, and I should have done it in the beginning, but I didn't realize that. Thought it was going to cost a lot more money. Ended up um, getting the developer involved. Everything was working. And by that time, the damage had been done where, I had been away from the community for a while. And then I got involved with an idea, a great idea, like, hey, I can do this on my own again. I can figure out how to develop this program that I've always wanted to develop. And I did. And I figured a lot of stuff out. I'm excited. I'm proud of it. But um, at this point, I have. Like a lot of people say that they're interested in the program, but they haven't pulled the trigger, right, to take on the program. And I'm telling you, no one else is offering this program. And I'm not trying to entice anyone. I'm just saying I put a lot of heart and soul into it. And at some point, I have to decide, what direction do I go? I will give you a call Monday. I'm out on Saturday night. Okay. Oh, hey, definitely take care of what you got to take care of on Saturday night. That's amazing. Do that. Tell the wife I said hi. I hope you guys have a great evening, and that's amazing. Do that. And hey, I definitely look to talk to you on Monday. I'll be here. Give me a call, 816-703-8431, 816-703-8431. Yeah, give me a call there at that number, and I'll be available. But again, I'm looking off to the right, to the left, and I'm looking at what has been developed, and I'm just and as a small carrier, there's a lot of times we think about there's not anything for us, out there, or things are too expensive, or whatever the case is. I'm just a one truck operator. I mean, the ones that I've helped, they only had one truck. And then all of a sudden they've got four trucks. There are situations that, yes, a one truck operation will not work. But to be honest with you, there are other opportunities that do exist. And but the idea is that we have to get our mindset in the right place. That's it. You have to get your mindset in the right place to understand that, Um, yeah, So, I mean, if you guys want to give me a call and, chat and what have you, that's fine. What have you. I'm just really gonna have to step back and, decide what direction I need to go because I've put so much into it. I just can't see myself continuing if, like I say, if Cures are really not interested um, in the direction that, we have set things to go. And I just know it works, but it's okay. And definitely, I hope that all the carriers that I've ever talked to, I hope that they are highly successful, because it's a tough business. But yet at the same time, there's a lot of reward and gratification in it when you're able to, able to be successful, see your company grow, something that you got into and you managed it and you developed it. And I think that that's truly amazing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Thanks for listening to me. I don't think this went any way that I wanted it to go. Yeah, but I definitely hope that, you know, just keep on trucking and just continue to look to grow. Look for those opportunities. Opportunities exist. There's a lot of opportunity out there for you to do what it is you want to do. So, but at any rate, thank you for connecting with me. I feel like I need to do another video just so I can clean all this up. But at any rate, have a great evening. All right. Have a great weekend. Wait a minute. FCC, you say, are you talking about FCC? Wow. I am talking about FCC. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, I appreciate you saying that. Again, it's a program that I did develop and, gave it that name. And for someone to come back and actually recognize it, man, I appreciate that. But that is what I'm talking about. I definitely am talking about that. So, but I appreciate you mentioning that. I don't know if you probably caught that, I guess, on an email that was sent out. And yeah, it's something that, I developed from scratch. Everything that we do here at Freight Connect, it's all done from scratch. It's done from experience. It's done from knowledge. It's done from the heart. It's done from just being that entrepreneur and, putting things together. I mean, there are so many leads that we have and leads that we have called and that we've reached out to and talked to and things like that. I went back and I called some leads from a year, no, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they still exist. Some of them have the same contact person that's there. And there was some that I had good conversations with. I just didn't follow through on it because I was just doing a check, right? Just to see how strong these leads are. And I'm telling you, man, we have so many leads that I don't have trucks, so I can't do anything with them. But those that have trucks, we have leads that you could actually reach out to. And if you follow our system, eventually you're going to find yourself having clients, but, it's, got it from an email. Okay, cool. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you got that from an email. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm really excited about, FCC. I've actually presented it. Well, I haven't presented it to the broker yet. But I think that more than anything, us training people and then getting them prepared so that, if they get that interview and get hired with, a broker, they will be at an advanced stage, when they come aboard. And the brokers, they put a lot of training into. I mean, I knew one that went to TQL. He was someone I've known, I've mentored, but I've known him since he was like 5, 6 years old, right? He's in his 20s now, maybe 30 now. At any rate, he is working at a brokerage where he was. I don't know if he's still at TQL, but he was telling me everything that they had to go through. And it was like 2 months. No, what was it, 6 months? I can't remember. They've got to go through a lot of training before they actually get them on the phone, right? But he would always come back to me and asking me questions, but when he was with me, there was a lot of stuff that he could have learned so that when he went to TQL, all those questions he was asking me, they would have already been answered. You know what I mean? So the training that TQL puts you through and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff that we already know and that we can support someone that would be interested in becoming a broker agent for TQL. And so when they get on board with TQL, they'd be a little more advanced. That information we are able to present to you. We're able to provide it to you. You're able to get that inside scoop, in regards to not just being a broker, but a salesperson, and actually work to develop that within what you do. You being the CEO of your business, the CEO, you are a salesperson. That's just how it works. You are the top salesperson. The top salesperson. Turn on Bloomberg. Listen to any of those CEOs that talk. They're selling. That's all. You're hearing them talking about their earnings and all these different things, but listen to the questions that are being asked. Listen to their response. They're salespeople. You are the CEO of your company. What is your response? It can't be hanging up on people. It can't be this and that. No, you are the CEO. Turn on Bloomberg News just so that you can learn how to be the CEO, how to communicate effectively when you're talking to the public, whether it's to the broker, whether it's to a shipper, whether it's to your employees, whatever the case is. Turn on Bloomberg News. Listen to those CEOs talk. You are the CEO of your company. Okay. So beyond that, there's a lot more to it all. And, we work to teach that, and you want to be able to grow your industry. I mean, business. I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but I'm going to stop now, and I appreciate it. The time that was given. I really do. I appreciate it so much. And if you want to reach out to me, please do 816-703-8431, 816-703-8431. It gets directly to me, Paul, here at Freight Connect. All right. Other than that, you guys have an amazing weekend, and God bless. Much love to you. And I want to see you successful. Give me a call. Let me know the good stuff that's going on. Even if you got challenges, call me. All right. Love to talk to you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.